Good evening. Nice Friday for you all. It has been a very long week and I'm a bit tired, but I couldn't end the week without having the video sent to your kind attention. So here I am. I hope that you have a better week than what I had. We will start as usual with the rules, and I just have added a nice sentence here. If you need the presentation, please text me a message on the YouTube or the Facebook, and I will send you the PDF for all the presentations if needed. And I added in the discussion points that I'm trying to create my blue ocean, something like, as I said, I'm not competing. So when we say about the mix of the discussion points or the videos that I present to you, it's something like I don't compete with the supply chainers, I don't compete with the soft skills people, I don't communicate with the English teachers. I just have my own combination. So this is a marketing terminology that is used when you have something where you compete with no one. And we will go now to our agenda. We will start as usual with replying the questions, and then we will start to go to our supply chain. We'll have today the differentiation or the, let's say, the comparison between the internal supply chain and the integrated supply chain. We will have a talk about the supplier relationship management and the customer relationship management, and we will have few info about the sustainability, which will be discussed later in more details. Well, about the questions, really I have some questions that I feel a bit of something like it's a joke. Well, I don't mean that it's funny, but it's really strange to ask that if you will have a supply chain course, will this grant us a job in the supply chain? Well, there is no grant whatsoever, regardless in the supply chain or in any field in the world, that you will have a course that will grant you a job. We have the course to develop ourselves, we have the course to increase our knowledge or our, let's say, information, understanding, but it's not a grant. Well, when I had this picture, it's something like, we do not give the courses or the certificates as a forgiveness deed. We cannot grant you heaven. You may go for an interview and you had the course, but you are rejected within this interview. The rejection could be for several reasons. If we'll start with one of the, let's say, opposite reasons, something like you are overqualified. You go for an organization and you have an interview with a manager who is not as strong as you are. So he will just think how I will be his manager while he's having more info, more knowledge, more education. So it's not a grant. So this could be a case. The other case could be that you are having the technical skills, but you are not having the soft skills that is required for this organization, or they have certain criteria in selecting the people to work. So just please try to remove this idea. There is no grant for any job in the world, and the courses are not giving you a grant. It's just giving you an edge. It's giving you some credit. It's confirming that you are having the education. So do not think that the course will grant you a job. This is the first thing. The other thing is about the difference between what I provide in the videos and what I provide in the lectures or courses I provide. Well, it's not about the value, because what I deliver in the videos or in the courses is value. However, it's a different track. I mean, when we talk about the videos, I have the flexibility in terms of the time and the topics that I select to discuss with you. I have the time, I have the, let's say, the stories that I tell you about the business. But when you go for a course, you are somehow limited with the education methodology, the time frame, the subjects that we will discuss. I may give some examples from the real life experience, but we still have limitation. However, if we'll talk about the courses, I'll try to provide as much as I can from the information I have in terms of all the supply chain subcategories. And I just need to confirm that it's more about an educational journey. So if I'm going in a way and I can pick a passenger with me, so why not So the objective of the videos is to help you understand more about the supply chain, more about the business experiences and its value adding. So it's not just an ad or just giving some free info. It's trying to add value, and for those who can never attend a course because they do not have places to take these courses at their countries, or they cannot afford it even. So I'll try to do my best to have these videos as valuable as I can. And the next question is about the title. Some people are calling me doctor, some people are calling me engineer, but I don't care about the titles, honestly. As said, I'm someone who is totally, let's say, avoiding formality unless I have to. So I don't like using titles all the time. And with my teams in the organizations I worked in, I was not using a title. And if it's more about having some respect, the respect is not related to the title. We have the respect because we are having good behaviors rather than having a title. And it's about also accepting the other. It's something like we have to accept each other as who we are. And I've got some notes about being informal, and this is me, so please accept me as who I am. And I would love that each of you is just his own, rather than having to think about how others are accepting him or not. When we talk about if I will continue after January or not, well, it's more about creating value. If I believe that I'm creating value for you and these videos are helping you in your career or even in your life, I would love to continue. I cannot commit to a certain timing in Feb, but I guess I'll try to do my best to continue as far as I can. About the questions, well, when we talk about asking questions, some people are telling me that we are not willing to send a lot of questions because of the time limits and so on, and this is really considered. However, if you are willing to send me a question that you cannot find an answer for, or you think it's will take some time, just please drop me a note and I will use the concept of the supply chain of first come, first served. If you send me a question and I was a bit delayed or I didn't answer, please resend it to me or flag that I didn't answer it, and I will do my best to help as far as I can. And please watch the videos in the sequence. I mean, some people are asking me questions that have been covered in the previous videos, so please have a look on the videos in the sequence, and then if you find that I didn't answer any of your questions, please send it to me again. Now we will go to the supply chain, the fun part as usual. This slide is the one that we have discussed before, talking about how we have linked the internal departments within our organization, having the supply chain and the planning coming in, the transportation and the warehouse management. So this slide has been covered before, but I have added it to flag that this is our internal supply chain. What does it mean, internal supply chain? It means it's within our own organization, it's within our own legal entity. So this is my organization after being linked across the planning and the supply chain other departments. And when we say internal, then it's our own organization. Does internal supply chain mean that there is something else? Yes, we are having another supply chain, which is the integrated supply chain, and we will see the difference now. When we say integrated supply chain, it's having the same that we have seen in the slide before. It's the purchasing team, production, distribution, retail, and we have added here the customer and we have added here the supplier, because when we talk about integrated supply chain, we look to our suppliers and customers as partners. They are part of our success and we deal with them in a sort of a win-win all the time. And when we will have a look on this, we will find there is two additional information. One of them is having this terminology, the upstream and the downstream. So when we say upstream, it means going from the side of the customer up to the supplier, and when we say the downstream, it means the flow of information, or if project of physical flow, it's coming from the supplier toward the customer. So if we are talking like from the supplier to the customer, it's downstream. from the customer to the supplier, it's upstream. And we will find that the financial control and the human resources are part of the supporting functions that are added to think in the way of the integration as an integrated supply chain. You will find these arrows that we have discussed before, the information flow, which is very critical when we talk about the customer relationship management and the supplier relationship management in the supply chain in integration form. And we will have the demand. If we will talk about the demand, it's something like a set. When we talk about pulling the products from one stage to the other, so the customer is asking the retailer, and the retailer is asking the distributor, and so on, till we pull all the flow from the supply side to the customer side. The physical flow we have already covered before. So this is in simple a small comparison between an internal supply chain and an integrated supply chain. And as I said before, we are still in the stage of the outlines. I hope that you are seeing the big picture, and we will have a lot of discussions about the details later on. So if we will talk that we had in the past the silos, the supplier on his own, the customer on his own, and then we have silos within our organization, each of them working with his own objectives, and then we have been more mature and we have been more developed, that we started to integrate internally. So we have our internal supply chain integrated, and we are still having here the supplier and the customer not integrated, and then we have the fully integrated supply chain. So this is the first phase, the silos. The second phase is the internal supply chain, where we have the integration internally, and then we have the integrated supply chain, getting our suppliers and customers as partners. So this is a simple comparison or a summary of what we have talked about before. And if we will talk that we are in the integration phase, then I have to think of the supplier differently. I have to think of the customer differently than I've used to do before. And that's why we will start with a comparison between what does it mean to have a customer service versus to have a customer relationship management. So traditionally, when we talk about customer service, it's more about providing the best customer satisfaction with the lowest cost, and delivering the products on time, the products that our customer is willing to have and able to depend on, and trust, and the good communication between our customer service team and our organization and the customers. And this was what it's all about when we talk about customer service, just serving the customer the good way. So is it that's all? No. We have now more advancement to talk about when we have the mentality of customer relationship management. So when we talk about the customer relationship management, it's an advanced thought of the customer. When we talk about the customer relation, it's more of a philosophy or a strategy that we started to apply, thinking that our customer is a partner. If the customer is not satisfied or does not exist, or we do not understand how our customer is thinking, what are his preferences, what will be value adding for the customer and what will not be value adding. So we will start saying that the CRM is a strategy, and this is the definition. You can read it in details. And we will think of the CRM as an information system as well. Some systems have been created to have more analysis about the customer behaviors, what they prefer to buy, when do they prefer to buy it, what are the information related to them as the geographical locations, the age, and so on. So all this information is stored in some information systems that can help the organization to understand the customer more. And there are more of other tools that is used in the CRM. And when we talk about the CRM, we have to watch out that it's not only the customer service team. When we think in the way that the customer is a partner, so each and everyone in the organization is having this as a mindset, as a mentality, and each of the people within my organization dealing with the customer has to be prepared. Something like if the warehouse team is delivering the products to the customer, then they are part of the customer relationship management. If we will talk about the call center, it's part of the customer relationship management, the sales team, the people who are taking the calls, the web and the email used to deal with the customers. These are all parts of the CRM. So it's more of changing the mindset from customer service to customer relationship management. Well, if we have this mindset, what will be the importance? I mean, why are we doing this? In simple, if you have a better relation with your customers, you will definitely increase the customer service level, which is the agreement, and you will have more efficiency in your call centers. You will not have all these complaints. You will be understanding your customers so you can manage the customer requirements ahead. You will have it easier for your sales team to close the deal. Something like, if you know what the customer needs and the customer give you information, then the sales team can have it easier to close the deal. And sometimes it's more about the after sales service as well. Something like when you are talking about an automotive organization. Well, when you go to buy a car, you ask about the service that is provided after you buy it, not only the quality of the car. So you are helping the sales team by creating a good reputation about the customer service that you provide. And definitely it simplifies the marketing process. When you are having a good customer relationship management, your customers, something like if it's business to business, whenever you have a good relation with your customers, you are helping the marketing team to have their task at ease more than before. And for sure, when you increase your customer satisfaction, you'll have better return on your investment and you will have increased sales. So this is about thinking of the importance of the CRM, and I do believe in it. And if I will say that the customer relationship management is important, then I have to do things to make it happen. And if I will talk about what is needed to make it happen, I will go for a list of points that is required to have a successful CRM. Out of it, and for me is the most important, is top management commitment. If I don't have the mindset of the customer importance and having the customer as a focal point, as a partner, sometimes we may say that let's have a deal, and if the customer is not satisfied later on, we are done. It's just having this deal now and we are not caring for the future. So if the top management are having this mentality, do not expect to have this customer in the future deals. So if the top management are not committed and supporting the mentality of having the customer as a partner, we will not be having a successful CRM. We should define and communicate our strategy to our customers, because if you do not clarify to your customer how you are going to manage the relation, they will have different expectations, and if the expectations are not matching with what you can deliver, you will have some sort of disappointment. So there has to be a strategy that is communicated accurately to your customer, and you should have some sort of culture change. So when we talk about the culture change, it's something like, if we are customer oriented, each and everyone in the organization has to think, is what I'm doing adding value to my customer? And if we find any deficiency or any quality defection or something like, if you are having the blue collars on the line packing some food products and they find one of them that is not well closed or the pack is open, they will not add it in the cases. They have to remove it because they know that this will go to a customer, and if the customer is not satisfied, or if this food stuff has been of some sort of harm to anyone who will use it, then it will get back to the organization with a legal case or something. So every and each one in the organization have to think with the customer in mind, and each of them has to think of the value they create for this customer. And for sure, when we talk about having the customer in mind and the supplier in mind, we have to think of integration. When we talk about integrating the departments, it means that all of our efforts is dedicated and coordinated in the way that we all deliver to the customer the best that we can. And if you will go for this, you have to hire the skilled staff, something like you can have a good system, you can have a good product, but if you don't have the right staff in place, then you are just wasting your effort. Well, if I will give you an example of the skillful staff, we may talk about the shops, something like if you are going to one of the clothes shops and you are thinking to buy something in some very known brands for their customer service, their high customer service, they may ask you if you need help or not. So if you need help, they will be there for you. If you don't need help, they will not be pushing you to buy. I used to categorize them into 3 categories. Some of them are, as said, as kind, as nice, that they come with a smile and ask if you are in need for help, so they provide the help you need. And if you just told them that you don't need help, they just stay away with a smile. Others are something like a shadow. They are following you with each step, asking you about everything that you want, trying to offer you whatever. Sometimes this is helpful, but it's something like you feel that you are enforced to buy, so you start to wonder that I don't like to buy from here because I'm feeling that I'm enforced. And the third is something like when you go for the job and you ask someone about something and they just tell you, we don't have it. And then you ask about something else, it's not here now. And then it's something like they are not trying to offer you something, you don't feel the energy, you don't have this nice smile. So this is part of the skilled staff that you have. Something like select your people the right way and the right customers will come to you. And we cannot forget that the information is a key. So you have to have your customers' information, you have to understand their preferences, and you have to keep records. So when you have this information and you start to analyze it, you can think of the next season. What are the style that my customers has been happy with? What is new that I can offer them? If they have any complaints that I have to avoid. So all the information that you gather will be helpful for you to provide the customer with the next product or the new initiative that you are willing to have. And to have this information, you have to have some sort of an information technological system that help you sort the information, you analyze it, gives you the trends, help you with the categorization and the segmentation, which we will talk about later on. So we should have a good information system in place that can help us have all this mass information of our customers available to be analyzed. And finally, for sure you have to have your customer involvement, because all this information will not be valuable if it's not reflecting your real customer insights. So you have to get your customer involved. Well, when we talk about the customer relationship management, there are books fully dedicated for this part. So this is just some of the info about the customer relationship management, and I hope that we will go for more details as well at this point. Okay, so if we had talked about the customer being part of our supply chain, when we say that we are having an integrated supply chain, same as we have did with our customer, we will think of our supplier. So we have covered the part related to the customer. Let's go for the supplier. If we will talk about the previous way of managing our suppliers, it was more of having something pushed, a one-off transaction or a one-off deal. It's not a partnership. It's not thinking of a win-win. And sometimes we can go to buy something from a supplier and we start to negotiate about the price. And we start to go lower and lower as far as we can. And if we know that this supplier is having some financial issues or he's having a lot of inventory that may expire, we may try to go for lower and lower price. But, well, in the future, if my supplier is feeling that I'm misusing a situation that he is in, I guess in a future situation that I need support, he will not be there for me. So this has been the mentality in the past. We just need to get a requirement, a good or a service to our organization. So let's get it with the lowest price in the right time with the right specification. And the actions that has been required from the purchasing team was as simple as getting quotation from the suppliers. We start with requesting the quotation, and then we get it, and then we analyze it, we prepare the purchase orders, we follow up on the supplier, and finally we track the payment and the documentation cycle, and that's it. We are done. This is all the relation between us and the supplier if we are talking about the past. So what is the present and the future? It's the supplier relationship management. The same shift in the mind, something like, as you think of the customer as a partner, you have to think of the supplier as a partner. Because if the supplier is not able to deliver the right service or the right material that you are looking for, do not expect your business to continue running. If your business is going up, you have to take your supplier up with you. If your capacity and demand needs to be increased, you have to think of your supplier as a partner, because he's covering your back in terms of the availability of the materials and the suppliers. And when we will talk about the supplier relationship management, we will think of both, as we have did with the customer relationship management. We will talk about the way of thinking or the philosophy, and we'll think of the information system as well, because there are certain information systems named as SRM, which is mainly managing the relation with our suppliers on an information system. Now, if we'll talk about our SRM, what has been changed? It has been changed that now we are partners, and we are thinking of having the same success story, the same future, being oriented toward the same goals, and trying to create value for both organizations that is going to add value to our customers. So this is when we think about the supplier relationship management, and how we are going to cooperate and have united efforts between us and our suppliers. And this for sure will add value and will help us avoid risk, and this is what we will see it when we will talk about the importance of the SRM. Well, if you will think that your supplier is a partner and he's thinking of you as a partner, the first thing will be happening that he will provide you with the best quality. He will always be loyal, so if he's having limited supply, you will be at the first of the customer served. So this will help you having a loyal supplier with good quality, which will give you an edge in competition. You will have increased efficiencies, because if I'm delivering on time, I'm delivering with the good quality, I'm delivering with some exceptions if you need to have the orders ahead of time. This will help you increase your efficiencies, and your operational cost should go down. You will have a loyal supplier who's keep thinking of you as one of the good customers, that he's willing to help, willing to provide support, willing to flag risk ahead so that you can take a corrective action, trying to find solutions if there is a crisis or an issue that needs support. So you'll always have your customer as someone who's helping you in each situation. And for sure, this will have some sort of improved value. So when we think about the improved value, it's more about having updates about the technology in the market, giving you some preference, something like when you are having a new initiative and you are willing to design a new product, sometimes involving your supplier as a partner can help you know more about the technology of a packaging material or new material that you are not used to have, a new technology that the supplier started to develop, and all this is adding value to you and to your customers. So if we are going to have an SRM in place, do we need support? Do we need certain successful criteria or requirements? Yes, definitely. If we will think of the CRM, we will have a mirror in the SRM. So for sure, it will be a way of thinking, an approach in doing the business. Definitely will have our higher management or the executive support and commitment. When we say that we have our supplier as a partner, then we need to walk the talk. It's not something like just have this deal be closed as what we want, and then in the future as per the old mentality. when we have the SRM linked to our goals, we will have more clear vision on what we are willing to do. It's something like when you set the goals for yourself, you start to set the goals that you will have to share with your own suppliers. And the second point that is linked to this, if I'm talking about my supplier as a partner, and I started to do some projects or some activities that is reducing the cost, I have to think of how much it will reduce the cost at my side and how much it will reduce the cost at my supplier side. It's something like I should not involve my supplier in a project or a development process that gives all the credit to my side, because if I will do this, why should the supplier do the effort? So we have to share the risks as well as we share the value added or the gains. And for sure we will talk about the same, having an information system that is supporting the SRM and having the right staff in place and educating our teams about the SRM technology and way of thinking. The last slide for today is about sustainability. So if we are talking about manufacturing or trading and we are thinking of the resources that we are consuming across, we have to think of sustainability. It's something like what are you going to consume from the current resources and how can you compensate it for the future generations. If you are an organization that is using the woods, whenever you cut trees, you have to plant trees. If you are consuming energy, you have to think of ways to generate energy, and so on. So it's when we consume resources, we have to find a way to renew these resources, or at least try to minimize the use. And as well, we have to think of the environment and how our organizations or manufacturing facilities is impacting the environment. So what we have to think about as some best practices related to the sustainability, it's having the real intention toward the environment, the real intention toward being in a good status in terms of the social responsibility that we have toward our societies and to the world in general. To think of how to partner our employees. It's something like in some organizations they have started to have some, let's say, labels talking about the right temperature for the air conditioning, to close the lights after they are coming out of office. So these are sharing the employees and getting them some awareness about the sustainability and keeping the resources safe. This will apply for the water consumption, the electric consumptions, and when we talk about the supply chain and transportation, that we use the warehouses that are having a lot of air conditions, electricity, the cars that are going here and there and having some pollution in the air. We will have a big talk about the link between the supply chain and the sustainability. And when we talk about recycling or reuse, this is part of the sustainability, and we'll have let's say, some hierarchy within the use of the materials within the supply chain that will clarify how can we do the reuse or the recycle or managing the returns or the reverse logistics in the supply chain, how we can have chemical management or the chemical treatment for any byproducts coming out of our facilities, try to buy the electric devices that is less in the electric consumption, and always think of what are the best practices, how can I implement it within my organization, how can I make it as part of the built-in of the organization to keep the resources safe and efficiently used. So I've tried to touch some of the aspects of the sustainability so that you can have the full picture, and I will be waiting for sure for your questions. And that's it for today, and I hope that the information that we have shared today are value adding. We'll appreciate your feedback, and I hope to see you soon. Nice weekend and goodbye. Greetings from Egypt.